All right, 1 2 1 2. What's up? How y'all doing out there? I am Frank Red, and this is another edition of the In the Dungeon program. Um, Apologize for tardy start. A couple of minutes just trying to get everything together, but I am excited to be with you tonight and talk about what's going on in the world of sports. There are some intersections between sports and entertainment that I will introduce to the audience as well, and open it up for you all out there to add something to the program that maybe I don't bring to the forefront. But it is a pleasure and an honor to be on the air tonight. Once again, my name is Frank Red. How you doing? If you are listening for the first time, hit the like button at some point. If you dig what you're doing, if you like the show, subscribe, and everybody else who consistently supports the show. Much love to you. Really appreciate y'all out there. It's hot in the studio where I am. My my air system's not working, so I am sweating. I'm hot, but oh well. We're gonna get it done anyway. With that said, there's so much to talk about in sports. The first preseason game has taken place, and I think not only the San Francisco 49ers, but all football fans have got an opportunity to just look at their team in pads. You know, a lot of starters didn't play, which is okay. Some starters did play. But the fact that they're playing football, to me, is really what excites football fans, but more than that, I would say sports fans, because football is the one sport that seemingly has the widest, the biggest community of fans between genders. Basketball is a very popular sport, obviously. Everybody likes basketball. But in the United States, I would say among the major sports, football is the most popular sport that both genders check out. Okay. What did you think, 49er fans? A lot of rookies are going to make this team. A lot of rookies are going to play. And I think having Robert Saleh as the new defensive coordinator, again, that's going to help the 49ers. There was a level of excitement from the players that were kind of flying around, but we also saw some things that was reminiscent of last year. A lot of missed tackles, a lot of bad angles. And regardless of the hype, regardless of whether or not you think that you can prosper in this division, if your goal is to win the Super Bowl, you can't miss tackles. You have to walk on the field and be kind of a bully. Historically, the 49ers have had bullies on the football field who happen to be really, really smart. And I think that's what they're trying to build. And look at how they drafted this year. They drafted some big, strong, athletic guys who they think know how to play football and can also inflict their physical will on the opposition, because that's what the good teams do. How is Philadelphia winning? Is it because they have the best quarterback in the NFL? No. They have a top 10, top 7 caliber quarterback. But defensively and offensively, they're bullies on the field. And they don't have a problem pushing their weight around. So, 49er fans, what did you think? I've been a 49er fan, supporter for a long period of time. I didn't grow up on the West Coast, but I like how the 49ers do business. And I've met many of my idols who were great with the 49ers, so I like to see them do well. I like the Raiders when they were in Oakland, probably a little bit more because I actually worked with them. I actually worked covering the Raiders, so that was I had a closer relationship with them. But I like to see the 49ers do well. Watching the tape of the Raiders, of the Rams game today, they're good, and they're well coached. I think Sean McVay, you could argue, is He's a top 5 coach in the NFL. And how do I draw that conclusion? Sean McVay loses a lot of coordinators, right? But the standard doesn't change, and the expectations and ultimately the outcome of those units don't change. They're always good. So I like what I see from the Rams. They got quality running backs that were not drafted in the first round, just good, solid players, excellent wide receivers. And I think Stafford probably has one more year left in him. A lot of you all know what football players do to play on Sundays, be it shots, be it massages. They're going to do everything they have to do to make sure this guy is capable of taking the field on Sunday. And that gives them a chance. So, you know, the 49ers could win that division, but I think the Rams have to be the favorite. Seattle, they got good players, but I have a hard time thinking that Seattle's going to beat the 49ers. And Arizona's a very talented team. So you got to be careful. They are very talented in ways that they haven't been in the past. So it's going to be competitive. We can talk a lot of football tonight, but we're going to talk some basketball also. There's not a whole lot to talk about with regards to, you know, the Warriors. It's like a world championship chess match with two guys that just kind of looking at each other, you know, in a staring contest. Neither side is willing to move an inch, and partly because they don't really have to. Jonathan Kuminga knows what his options are leading up to when he has to sign his tender, and the Warriors are steadfast in terms of what they want to do. They're either going to sign Kuminga to a deal that they feel comfortable with, or they're going to deal with the ramifications of having him in camp. So it's not that complicated. It's just frustrating and it's boring, I'm sure, to a lot of fans who want to see this team position themselves to win another championship. Whether or not that's going to happen, we'll get a better look when the season starts. But a lot of people screwed up. This Kuminga thing should not have gotten to where it is now. If the market was wide open and there was a lot of money out there, he would be getting stronger offers than he's getting right now. That's just the reality of it. So that's kind of where we are. If you want to talk about that, we can. What I want to talk about with regards to basketball, and I'll introduce it a little later, is the great Nancy Lieberman was on a podcast with Michael Beasley and Chris Hayes. And she was reflecting on her time as an assistant coach with the Sacramento Kings when George Karl was the head coach. And she flat out said, George Karl is a racist. You never hear that from coaches. That's that inside dope type stuff. Players have alluded to the fact that George Karl had some interesting thoughts about other people and how he deals with people, but you never hear that from coaches. She said it with her chest too, like she got receipts. So I think George Karl probably needs to sit this one out and just kind of take it and go ahead and live his life, because it's like a brush fire that can be put out or it can turn into a blaze. I don't think he wants that. I don't think the NBA wants that. But that was some real tea that you generally don't hear from coaches. I think Nancy Lieberman is like, listen, I'm 67 years old. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I'm not trying to be a coach again. So I'm going to speak my truth. So you have to respect somebody who is willing to step out there and say, yo, this is what happened. So you heard about that, or you want to talk about it, you have any questions about it, we can do that as well. The Valkaries, we're going to get into the Valkaries as well a little later, but I salute them. Listen, before they went on that last road trip, I thought their season was cute. I thought they would still be competitive. but I didn't think that they would be able to hold on and challenge for a playoff spot. Once I saw them on the court and I saw that they had an unbalanced schedule, they played a lot of home games. So they have a lot of road games against tough opponents. But they play their best against the best competition. It's not always pretty, but they play excellent basketball. They're easily one of the top 5 defensive teams in the NBA. In the WNBA, excuse me. And they play just enough offense to squeak out games. It's amazing. Natalie Nakase, I don't care if they don't win another game this year. To me, she's the coach of the year. I think she deserves that. And the more I watch Veronica Burton, the more I realize that she has to be considered for one of the all defensive teams in the W. She is relentless on defense. And it was interesting because Coach Nakase, I mean, she didn't bench Veronica, but she was willing to play Carla Lighty and even Caitlin Chin more than I think, Veronica probably wanted to be on the bench. Now she's starting to play 2-point guard, so she's still making substitutions, but she's not taking Veronica off the court because her defense is phenomenal. So I wanted to highlight that. All right, we got some people on the line that got some things to talk about. And I got some more things I'm going to introduce a little later. But I want you to know this is the In the Dungeon Show. My name is Frank Red, and I'm doing a radio show and sitting in a sauna at the same time. That's what it feels like. I think I might even have to go change my shirt in a minute, man. So anyway, work with me. I appreciate y'all. Let's go out and talk to the great Vicky. So wonderful to hear her comment. She says, "Hi, Frank. It's great to be back. I'm very disappointed in the Warriors offseason. Not signing anybody new is not good basketball. I still hope they can sign Milton. I missed everyone and talking sports." Well, Vicky, if you missed everybody as much as we missed you, then that's saying a lot, because everybody who came on over the past couple of weeks have been asking about you, and it's good to see your words vibrating through the screen and knowing that you're on the road to recovery. So thank you very much. Appreciate you. I think the Warriors are making moves, but they're just behind the scenes. This Kuminga thing has slowed everything up. They can't do anything until they resolve that. And it's unconventional. It's frustrating. I don't think it's building bonds in any type of way. But it is what it is. The Warriors are in communication, if you go by the reports, with Al Horford. I think DeAnthony Milton is definitely on their radar. I think he probably wants to come back. So if you can get DeAnthony Milton and Al Horford and you bring back Kuminga, you got a pretty good team. You got a talented team. But chemistry is a big deal with the Warriors. I don't know if those players are able to actually use the Warriors facility while they're not signed. I don't know about that. So, but yeah, great point. Vicky told me to drink some water. That's what I'm doing. Thank you. Aussie Rules. Say hi, Frank, and hi, Vicky. When I watch preseason football, I watch the refs. I like to see what penalties they call, new rules, etc. What do you think of the new rule about canceling the game if a player gets carted off? In preseason, I have no problem with it. I don't think that that's the case in regular season. But no, as a matter of fact, I know it's not because of the betting, I would assume. But I love these mammoth organizations like the NFL and others showing grace to the players. I mean, what is it worth? It's not worth anything. It doesn't mean anything. And while these players know what their responsibilities are, and they know that they have to have a savage mentality when they step on the football field, when someone gets hurt, they realize that, you know what, there's bigger things in football. This is our job. This is not our lives. So I love the players banding together to support each other. There have been numerous situations over the past couple of years in which players have gotten hurt seriously. And, to acknowledge that there's something more than football, to me, is really, really important, particularly in the preseason. So I like it. I love the rule. Love it. The 49ers, 2025. What's up, brother? How you doing? If they can get all their players, I like the 49ers to be competitive, particularly in their division. I think they're a playoff team. But the Jauan Jennings thing is starting to rear its head again. He initially showed up when a lot of people didn't think that he was. I wasn't quite sure if he was going to show up. But he has a calf or he has a hammy or whatever the case. He's not at the facility, at least not in public. He's not being made available to the media. And he clearly wants more money. And I'm all about players performing, all right? So whatever you make, you should be performing. But in the game of football, that is literally a year-to-year contract, notwithstanding the signing bonus. Everybody's always looking at market value. The organization is looking at market value, and the players are too. I mean, why did Deebo Samuel get traded? He got traded to Washington because they were in a better financial situation, and the 49ers didn't think he was worth the money anymore. That's why he got traded. So everybody's always assessing value. And Jauan Jennings, to me, should get more money. Why? He's the number one receiver on a team that has playoff and Super Bowl aspirations. He's one of two guys on the team, he and Kittle, who actually make combat catches. Who else? I mean, maybe Ricky Pearsall will turn into that guy. But that guy that you can depend on and you know is going to be there for Purdy all the time, we don't know who that person is. Yet it's to be determined. So, I mean, there's two arguments. You can say, hey, he signed the contract, he should honor it. And I think you honor your contract by going out and playing your tail off. There's no disagreement there. But I think that players should get market value. He's not getting market value right now. He's not. So, I was on Larry Kruger's show last night, and we did 90 minutes of just football. So I know you got some thoughts out there surrounding the 49ers or any NFL team. It's all good. I'm going to take, Vicky says, Kittle is the go-to guy. He is, but he gets nicked up, Vicky. I think we saw that last year, and he's getting older, still a great player, but he gets nicked up, and they need other players to be on George Kittle's level. And from a speed perspective, Jauan Jennings is not that guy, but he's reliable. He's a hell of a football player. So, Gigi says, that Biggie, good to see you back. Hope health is okay. Yeah. All right, listen, everybody. I'm going to take 1 minute. I'm going to change my shirt because this is crazy. I'll be right back. Hold on. Ooh. I feel so much better. Oh my God. Imagine if they did that on NBC. That'd be funny. Thanks for hanging in there. I appreciate y'all. There's ownership side, and employee side. If employee performs poorly, should salary be cut? Yes. And it is cut. It is cut. The 49ers and most NFL teams at some point go to their players and say, listen, we need $2 million to sign X amount of players. Your production wasn't there. We need you to take a salary cut. And then you can do one or two things. You can go, no, I'm not lowering my salary. I think I deserve the money. They can try to trade you like they did with Debo, or they can cut you. So this is the nature of the NFL. It's worked for a long period of time, but as the NFL has made more and more money, players have more access to information, and they're like, wait a minute, you're going to make your money regardless of how I play, so why should I lose money? But the system still allows organizations to cut players and reduce their salaries. I mean, Juice, the fullback of the 49ers over the past couple of years, has had his salary cut. It happens. Vicky says the 49ers need to cut Moody. I think, Vicky, if they cut him, they're going to take a salary hit because of the signing bonus at a kicker position. And to his credit, Vicky, to his credit, he's been outstanding in camp. He hasn't missed any kicks. They actually cut his, quote, competition last week. You realize that earlier this week, they cut the guy who was competing with him. So, obviously, if he has a bad year, if Jake Moody has a bad year this year, he's done, because the financial ramifications are not as detrimental to the 49ers. And he's had time. I mean, this is what, year 3? By year 3, you should be firmly established in your position. So I understand why fans or maybe his teammates don't have as much confidence in him as you would think they would. But I think this is more financial than anything else. But I get it, though. You might be surprised that I've not introduced the biggest story of the preseason. And I wanted to let it cook for a while, let it simmer, but I'll introduce it. Shedeur Sanders of the Cleveland Browns, in spite of his owner saying that he didn't draft him and it wasn't his call, went out there Friday night and balled out against Carolina. Now, you might say, Red, it's nothing, it's only preseason. Okay. What do you think the noise or the narrative would be had he played poorly? Come on. SportsCenter would have led with it. Every sports talk show host who worked Monday through Friday would have been on the weekends telling everybody how crappy Sanders is and he deserved to be drafted in the 5th round. But that didn't happen. He not only played well, but he did something that a lot of quarterbacks can't do. He threw the ball with touch, which is hard. To me, that is the distinguishable factor between quarterbacks. Not who has the strongest arm. Can you throw the ball through tight windows, and can you throw it in a way that the balls are catchable? Joe Montana was great at that. Steve Young got better at that in the second half of his career, which is why he's in the Hall of Fame. Tom Brady's excellent at that. All of your great quarterbacks can do that. Joe Burrow. And I'm not walking around with cheerleaders. I mean, with pom-poms. I don't think Shador should start. I mean, I think that's lunacy. I mean, a lot of people out there believe he should start. I don't think so. I think Joe Flacco should start. But clearly, if he's anything but the number 2 quarterback on the Cleveland Browns, I want an investigation because it's ridiculous. I also would love to see people man up or woman up and say, you know what? I was wrong about Shador. When he was drafted in the 5th round, I should have focused on his alleged lack of professionalism when he was going through interviews, you know, how he conducted himself. Maybe they don't like his arrogance or whatever the case. But to doubt this guy's talent, to rip his talent apart like so many people did, is flat out wrong. And, you know, this is a microwave society, so you don't have to come out and say I was wrong. Just keep it moving. Just move on to the next topic. Be it circumstances, the football guards, or whatever, he got on the field and he proved himself. Now, they go against Philly this week, and Philly is going to try to light him up. Everybody knows that. So this is the real test. Carolina really wasn't a test. This test against Philly's defense, the second of 3 preseason games, they want to see their guys making plays. So they're going to come after him. So if he does decent this week against Philly, the conversation is going to get louder. The certainty or the possibility of him making the team, those conversations are going to be more and more legitimate. But he has to play well, though. It wouldn't surprise me if he's not traded for political reasons. I don't care if he's traded. I just want the guy in the NFL working, living out his dream. And ultimately, if you're on an NFL team, you're going to get a chance to play. You're going to get a chance to play. I go back X amount of years and all the noise about Trey Lance and how bad he was. He couldn't read defenses. It's a bunch of crap. It just takes time. That's all. So what are your thoughts on Shador playing really, really well? Vicky says Sanders looked great. He did. He did look great. Austin Rule says, but Frank, last year the Niners had a terrible year. Most players, including stars Shanahan, Lynch, did not take a pay cut. Great point. Joe Montana had touch. I mean, Joe Montana, Vicky, is my favorite quarterback of all time. Nothing's going to change that. TG, Joe Montana is the GOAT. He's the GOAT to me. I mean, you know, hey, man. I remember meeting Tom Brady at a sports club. Good guy. Before he was, quote, Tom Brady. He was friends with one of my friends. And I understand how he's this generation's GOAT. I get it. But if you ask me who's the best quarterback to ever play, I'm going to say Joe Montana. And the reason why I'm going to say Joe Montana is not because he was necessarily more physically talented than Tom Brady. He was a better athlete. But in Joe Montana's era, quarterbacks got killed. Literally. If you're like somebody who's under 40, under 30, you're like, Red, we talking? No. Watch the tapes. You guys remember what happened to Eric Hipple, right? The Detroit Lions? The linebacker from Chicago, not Mike Singletary, his running mate, literally picked him up off the ground and power slammed him to the ground. I mean, and maybe he got a flag. I mean, if a guy did that to a quarterback in today's NFL, he'd be in handcuffs. They would take him off the field and take him right to jail. That's how different the games are that's being played. Totally different. Keith says, What's up, Frank? If Jennings signed a 1-year deal last year, he would be a free agent and getting 15 plus a year. I think he should be mad at his agent for bad advice, not the Niners for believing in him. Okay. On the surface, I think that's a great point. But let's go back to last year. Last year, he was not in the position that he was in right now. Debo was still on the team. Ayuk was theoretically going to be an all-pro. So he was pretty much a bench guy, right? He was a third receiver. Now he's being viewed as the guy. So I think the circumstances have changed. And let's be honest, the salaries of football players, notwithstanding the signing bonuses, really don't mean anything. They really don't. So what you need to do, as a player, is make sure that your production is always consistent with your salary. And there are metrics out there. I don't like to go by metrics. We were talking about that last night. I don't lean on metrics as much as some other people do, because I think that a player's importance is different depending upon which team he's on. If you're on a great team that has phenomenal wide receivers, then your value is not going to be as high. But for this 49er team, with that shaky offensive line, Purdy's going to be throwing through some tight windows. Last year, Ricky Pearsall, the last 3 or 4 games, yeah, he played pretty good. The games didn't really mean anything. But the guys, when the 49ers were in contention, it was Kittle and it was Juwan Jennings. So I think there's levels to how much you pay him. If his salary is, I think it's 7.58, I'm not quite sure. I wouldn't pay him more than $15 million. If you're going to increase somebody's salary by 50, 60%, and they have an opportunity to be a free agent in the relatively near future, I don't think that as an organization, you have to go crazy. But he does need to make more money. Vicky says, I think a lot of what went on with Sanders is some people don't like his dad. I think that's why he got drafted in the 5th round. That didn't help. That certainly didn't help. Vicky, you make a great point. Football's an old school game. It really is. You see some of the antics that's happening now with owners and how they deal with players. Listen, if we got a chance to see the profits from the NFL, they would be Apple or Google, or even beyond that. That's how much money these organizations make. It's basically a walking ATM machine. But they don't look at it like that. They want control. They want power. Why? Because they've had it for so long. And like you said, they don't want to hear people dictating how they do business. The fact that Deion made any comments about what organizations his son might want to go to or which ones he's not going to go to, that was not smart. It's not. I didn't even like Deion's tweets. I didn't like it. It's like, if you say God is good, that's fine. But when he said, now what? Dude, you're his dad. You're a Hall of Famer. You're a successful football coach. But you know the power structure in the NFL. Shadua is simply trying to find his way. So I love the fact that Deion has his back. He wants his son to do well and have his career. But, it's kind of like a high school tweet. You're going to rub it in the organization's face now. And the player's going to lose that. Because the organizations have all the power. The owner's already said he wasn't even my pick. So I basically have no emotional attachment to him. So I didn't like that from Deion. I'm happy that Shadua played well. I think this week is going to be the biggest test against Philly. Vicky says Joe got killed a few times. Yeah, I mean, he did. I mean, think about how many operations he had, Vicky, on his back. I mean, after playing football and basketball all these years, I have a bad back. My L4 and my L5 looks like a plate of spaghetti. That's what it looks like. And I'm a person who doesn't believe in taking medicine, not for pain. So, I mean, there are times in which I'm just enduring a lot of pain, you know? I mean, I've seen Joe Montana out at times when he was, when he was when he was supporting his kids in youth sports. And I just look at the guy and I go, wow, he took a beating. He really did. So I actually like this NFL better. I think you can have quality football, have it be just as engaging, and have it not be a savage sport. So it looks a little strange. Even now, I was watching football yesterday. I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, but even the kickoffs don't look as strange to me as they did last year. It's becoming more and more normalized. And ironically, the kid from Ohio State took it to the house off of a kickoff. The kid who plays for New England from Ohio State. Was it Henderson? Trayvon Henderson? So you're still going to have special teams plays. You're not going to have as many as we had back in the day. But I mean, just from a common sense perspective, if you can have less players getting hurt, I'm okay with it. So I like the innovations that the NFL and even major sports in general are focused on to ensure better safety of the players. I like that. Okay, thoughts on Mac Jones. I'm not surprised Mac Jones is playing well. I watch college football as much as I watch the NFL. I don't, if I'm a sports fan, I watch everything. Mac Jones had excellent coaching at Alabama, but he was third string to Tua and Jalen Hurts. He's a third string quarterback. Most of the other college programs, he would have been starting, but he paid his dues and he waited. Maybe Lane Kiffin or the coach, Mike Locksley, I think his name is, the coach at Maryland. He's an excellent offensive coach. So Mac Jones has the goods. What I noticed about him early in his career, and even in college, he lived with bad plays. And emotionally, he couldn't shake it. And, when the ball started to roll down the hill, he couldn't stop it. I think maturity, I think knowing that the world is not going to end with a bad play has put him in a position now where he realizes that, you know what? I'm going to be a professional football player. As a starter, possibly, but I know that I can function as a backup. And guess what? Backup quarterbacks are making $1 million a year. Some of them make 2, some of them make 3. So I actually think Mac Jones is probably going to get a chance to start for another organization, maybe as a stopgap guy. I don't know if he is a quote franchise quarterback, but he's damn good. And I would say he's probably one of the top 5, top 7 backup quarterbacks in the NFL. Look at Jarrett Stidham of the Denver Broncos. Jarrett Stidham was 14 for 15 and throwing darts against the 49ers. Look at his journey. This guy's been everywhere. But for Jarrett Stidham, this is probably year 6 or 7? Very comfortable. So you get better. You get better over time. Trey Lance is another example. I think Trey Lance, again, is going to get an opportunity to be a starter. But all of the nervousness and the rust It's all for him. He know he can play in this league. He knows. You know, he studied these playbooks. So that's what happens. It's not about quarterbacks failing. It's about quarterbacks having the time to actually develop into what they're going to be. Are they going to be franchise quarterbacks, or are they going to be solid backups? You know, if you have that rope, if you have that loyalty from organizations, you'll get an opportunity. But more times than not, these guys get kicked to the curb. And that's what I don't like, because I like coaching and I like development. Some of the highlights for the 49ers, the running back, Corey Kiner, I think was a bright spot. I don't want to see Christian McCaffrey getting 80% of the plays anymore. He's done. He's done. He's still a very, very good player. But he's susceptible to injuries, particularly leg injuries. You know, the 49ers need to be disciplined and make sure that they're getting him off the football field. I mean, maybe 50, 60, but I don't want to see him getting more than 60% of the carries. I don't want that. I think that's bad news for the 49ers if he does that. Jordan Watkins, a wide receiver, had 3 catches, 56 yards. I think he's a keeper. We got to get Jawan Jennings back on the football field. Chase Lucas, 8 tackles. Nick Martin, a guy who has, received a lot of praise in preseason. I thought his performance was really unbalanced. He had 5 tackles, but he missed some tackles and he took some bad angles. And that was the 49ers story last year with their linebackers. Fred Warner was basically hurt the whole season. He played it out, but a lot of bad angles last year. And we saw some of that stuff yesterday against the Broncos. A guy who surprised me a little bit was Stone Blanton. And Stone Blanton surprised me because I didn't get the sense he was afraid. He's not a big bruising guy, but he was running all over the field. And I'm a big believer in, before you can be good, you got to be smart. And I think he's a smart football player. So I like what I saw. Khalil Davis is somebody who I had not noticed that much. I guess he was around last year and he got hurt, but he's a defensive lineman who I thought showed some quickness. Overall, they got to play better. There's a guy that I was watching on the Dallas Cowboys, Phil Maffa, name is. And he's a running back that the Cowboys drafted in the 7th round out of Clemson. And I watched him about 3 or 4 times when he was at Clemson. This dude is a flat-out beast. And while the Cowboys have a unconventional way of dealing with their players and negotiating contracts, one of the things that Jerry Jones and his staff, Stephen Jones and all their scouts, they know how to scout players. They do. They know how to scout players. And this kid, Mafi, that they got out of Clemson, I think he's ultimately going to be a starter. And I think that he has the potential to be a 4+ yard per carry running back, which is only going to help Dak Prescott. So while I don't think that the 49ers or the Dallas Cowboys are definitively favorites to be in the NFC title game, I think both teams will improve. So, and I am a Dak Prescott guy. I like that. But I know he can't do it by himself. And when they went really downhill, it was because they didn't have a running game. When Ezekiel Elliott was playing well, Dallas was winning 12 games a year. I think Maffa is going to help them get back to that. But I did want to touch on Nancy Lieberman's comments about George Carl. And I'm not going to label George Karl. I don't know George Karl. That's not what I want to talk about. Although I don't think Nancy Lieberman has anything to lie about. I believe her. I believe her truth. As it relates to this, I acknowledge that she was in a position to hear certain things, but I would love to hear George Karl's side of the story if he's vehement about the statements that she's making. I would love to hear his side of the story. With that said, what I want to talk about is average fans, generally speaking, get their information from the press. Rarely do they have anybody on the inside who can really paint a clearer picture for them. So they're getting information from the press. And organizations have people in the press that they feed information to build their narrative. I know it's shocking. Oh yeah, it's shocking, but it happens every day. My thing is, we have to stop having these God complexes with coaches. You know, almighty coach. When the coach says it, it must be right. That's a bunch of bull. It is, particularly at the professional level. At the college level, at the high school level, there is a extreme power dynamic. One group of players, the athletes, student athletes, they're not adults. They're big and they're strong. They can do things that adults can do, but they're not adults. Particularly mentally, they don't have the experience. Coaches and organizations have the upper hand. And when they're utilizing that power for good, you can really help to nurture young people to the extent that they become leaders and authority figures themselves. But you can do a lot of damage too. As a coach, you can do a lot of damage, to young players. And sometimes it happens. And as long as the winning is the primary thing, as long as you can write the narrative that you want to write, it's going to put you and the organizations in the best possible situation, then it's all good. But didn't play in the NBA. I'm not saying I did, but I played at a high level, play against a lot of pros. And I played high level basketball. I played for coaches and been around coaches who ultimately became professional coaches. I just want, with this little platform that I have, I want you to understand that there is a tremendous imbalance there. And, pretty much when it comes to negotiations, most of the time players are going to get killed from public opinion. We're not at practice. We don't know how someone is communicating to a player who happens to be an employee. We don't know what that's about. And it's always going to be a little different in sports. But that's the next thing. Although they'll never do that. You have reporters, interviewing coaches in between timeouts. Imagine if you had a reporter at practice. What would that be like? Can you imagine that? Think about that. Think about paying a premium fee of $10 a month or whatever it was to have access, raw and uncut, day-to-day operations of practices in professional organizations. In the NBA, you know what they do in the NBA? The last 30 minutes of the practice, they open the curtain and they bring the media out. Practice already over. I guess if you go watch the 49ers or your favorite team, you got somebody with a walkie-talkie saying, "Oh, okay, it's time to bring them out now." All the other stuff you never get a chance to see. Imagine if you saw that stuff. I don't know how it is at your job, but in my environment, I don't talk to anybody differently when the cameras are on. No, there is a very consistent way that we conduct ourselves. Sports is different, a lot different. Vicky says, I don't think Steve Kerr has done right by JK. Vicky, please elaborate. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I'd love to hear. TG, he said that Vicky, Boone agreed. I'm not, okay. I'm not quite sure what that means. Steve Kerr in some circles cannot do anything wrong. And if we were talking to Steve Kerr now, I think he would say, listen, I'm not a perfect person. Maybe I could have done things better. But in many circles, he is revered. And the idea that he could ever have any missteps with a player is blasphemy, And I'm like, you know what? That's crazy. That's a joke. Okay, so you're talking strictly about basketball, off and on play. Yeah. It'd be tough for me to. If I was a young player, it would be hard for me to play for him. Because if you're a young player, you probably have not established yourself, right? So you have no power. You have zero equity. Kuminga actually has established himself as an NBA talent, and he has barely no power. This is year 5. Kuminga, when Kuminga starts, this is a guy who's averaging somewhere between 16 and 20 points a game. 20 and 5. I read stories about people saying, oh man, the Warriors could have had Wagner. You know what? Wagner averages what, 22, 23? They made the playoffs like one time, one or two, maybe 2 times? You think Kuminga wouldn't be putting numbers up in Orlando? So I agree. The inconsistency of the minutes to Jonathan, simply because of the system that the Warriors run, that's frustrating to me, because what happens when Steph Curry gets hurt? You don't have the same system anymore. We saw that against Minnesota. Stephen Curry's going to be 38 years old in the season. And you're going to build the entire offense around Stephen Curry? I love the offense. But I think that modifying the offense to fit your best players makes tremendous sense to me. And I can use many examples to support that. Let's go back to last year when the Warriors traded for Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder went from averaging 18 a game, damn near shooting 50% and like high 30s in Brooklyn, to coming to the Warriors and looking at times like he didn't even belong in the NBA. His confidence was snatched. At some point, only thing he did was just stand in the corner. That's all he did. And then he got traded and went to Detroit. And the only thing he did for Detroit is elevate their team when they had some injuries. Played his ass off to the point where now he's on Sacramento making $15 million a year. You think he'd be making $15 million a year if the Warriors had not traded him last year? He'd be lucky to get a 1-year deal at a veteran minimum. You guys know I'm right. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with the take that Kuminga's not going to fit in the system. I have no problem with that. The scary part is, what if he goes somewhere else? Warriors could have traded Kuminga. They could trade Kuminga tomorrow. Relatively speaking, he doesn't really make a lot of money. But we don't want what's coming back on the other end. And maybe there's some other variables associated with trading Kuminga that impacts their signing, so I'm not going to get into that. But I will strongly state that Kuminga could have been traded. Could have been traded a couple of years ago. Steve Kerr is an egomaniac. He definitely has a big ego. Egomaniac, I don't know. All coaches have egos. Every last one of them. I had an ego as a coach. You have to have an ego as a coach. Know why? Because you're trying to impact the game and you're not even playing. You got a suit on. You're not making any free throws. You're not making any jumpers. They don't even wear suits anymore. So all coaches should and do have egos. The difference is all coaches don't lead with empathy and humanity. Like a Popovich. There have been players that Pop has traded. He trades players. But have you ever heard anybody say they didn't like playing for Pop? That they were treated, that they felt they were being treated unfairly? I've never heard that. And I know there are other coaches out there that players rave about playing for as well. But Popovich just came to my head because he's the old-time leader in wins. He's coached a long period of time. And as a coach myself, yeah, it's about winning. I get it. And millions and billions of dollars are at stake. I understand that. And you will never hear me say that Steve Kerr isn't a brilliant coach. All of these other coaches aren't brilliant. But I think that these players, you can't coach everybody the same. And this whole Jonathan Kuminga thing to me has been a problem for years. God bless Moses Moody and his upbringing. I honestly was not as mature as Moses Moody was as a 19-year-old. Moses Moody he might be the most mature 19-year-old I've ever seen before. Have you ever seen a 19-year-old more mature than Moses Moody? I haven't. I have not. I don't care if Moses Moody never makes another bucket, another basket. If he needed a volunteer to do anything, I would even question if it was for good. That's the type of person he is. And that's why he got paid. Because unequivocally, I think everybody looked at Moses Moody and said, you know what? This is a salt of the earth type person. His family is salt of the earth type people. We need to take care of this guy. I think Rich Paul is an excellent representative also. His players get paid. But the average 19-year-old, oh, no way. Could not deal with that. Hopefully, at some point, probably the third game, I want to see some of these veteran quarterbacks play. Like, I was all jacked up because I thought that Aaron Rodgers might play for Pittsburgh. And knowing Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, he's probably not going to play at all. Maybe he played one series in the third game. Um, but probably not Dak Prescott. I mean, so the only thing we have to look for is the young guys, is the Shadors of the world, the Bryce Young, people like that who are still trying to develop themselves. The kid Jason Hart apparently played pretty well also for the New York Giants, so that was a good look. Again, I don't think he should start either. I mean, I like the Giants quarterback room with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Let this young kid sit on the bench, So, but it was exciting to get a chance to see Shador, but just to see football. I just love football. I can't wait till college football starts. I just looked on the schedule, and Cal is going to play North Carolina, Belichick this year. So that might be a game I might want to go out to. So looking forward to that. I also saw this weekend, Naked Gun. And when I saw that Naked Gun had 100, now did it have 100 rating or very high rating on Rotten Tomato, I kind of knew the fix was in. Is it an entertaining movie? Yes, it is. If you watch Naked Gun on Amazon Prime or Hulu or HBO 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now, would you lose anything? Nah, no, you wouldn't. So I'm not going to tell you it's the greatest movie that I've ever seen, because it's not. It had some moments. It had some hero shots where they was like, we're going to really go for it. And it was shocking. And, depending upon who you are, it was either funny or it wasn't funny. I thought it was funny. And the movie was quick, too. The movie's only about like an hour and 40 minutes. So, yeah, I saw Naked Gun. I would give it a solid B. Not the best movie that I've seen. This week, though, Spike Lee's movie comes out. The Lowest to the Highest, I think it's called, with Denzel Washington, A$AP Rocky. I'm looking forward to that. Kerr, like Shanahan, great at X and O's, but not good at anything else. Yeah, that's interesting. Definitely good at X and O's. I mean, Kerr's out of bounds plays are masterful. We all know at some point Shanahan's going to be calling plays, even though Kubiak is calling plays now. I can't believe Shanahan's not going to take those reins back as soon as he can. Yeah, I mean, Shanahan is, to me, like, I'm not at practice with the 49ers, but I never get that he's telling me the absolute truth. Never. And same thing with Kerr. And I maybe that's the business. I don't know. But I never get the sense that Kerr is telling me exactly what's happening. Like even with Jonathan Kuminga, he said, we're early in the year. We're going to really try to get JK involved. That's different. That's a big difference from saying, you know what? We can't really win without this guy. We're going to play him 30 minutes a game. For the first 20, 25 games, Jonathan Kuminga is going to play 30 minutes a game. That's a big difference between early in the season, we're going to try to get him involved. If you're Jonathan Kuminga, you're like, no, I want to go to sack. I want out of here. I already have my ring, right? I'm tired of sitting on the bench. I've already showed I can play. What's the problem? Vicky says Steve has won championships. Yeah, I mean, he's the most decorated coach of his era. Nobody can take that from him. You know what's interesting? And I think I mentioned this before, Vicky, and I'm going to say it again. When I first started coaching, when I was coaching, I was still playing. And, I'm playing in the Pro-Am. I'm playing against Jason Kidd and, Steve Nash and all of these, the up-and-coming players, right? And then I would coach youth. And I would win a lot. And I was like, man, I must be a great coach. And I thought I was a good coach. But then one year I wasn't winning as much. And I realized that my players wasn't quite as good that year. And what that said to me was, you know what? You might be a good coach, but you win a lot because you have really good players. That's why you're winning. And that was a light bulb moment for me. And when I think about Steve Kerr and all of his brilliance, he changed the trajectory of Draymond Green's career. Stephen Curry was going to be in the Hall of Fame regardless if Steve Kerr coached him or not. Would he have won 4 championships? I can't say that. But he was going to be in the Hall of Fame. He was putting up numbers. When Don Nelson was the coach, Curry was flashing. When Mark Jackson was coaching, he was putting up numbers. Kerr put him in a position to become a champion. He definitely did that. But Kerr had an opportunity to coach great players. No one's talking about Bob Myers anymore because he's long gone. Bob Myers is going to be in the Hall of Fame. That's going to pick up steam. Bob Myers is going to be in the Hall of Fame. At some point, I don't know when, but he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Bob Myers was just as integral as anybody for building those championship teams, championship rosters, being that ear to lean on when you needed to, when things wasn't going well. Bob Myers is a very, very important part of the Warriors' success. And I think internally, everybody knows that, right? But exteriorly, as he gets further and further removed from the organization, people tend to forget that. Oh, TJ said, I saw, you saw the movie Weapons? It was good? There's a lot of good movies out there. And I'm excited because I love going to the movies. Had I had a chance to make a different choice, I probably would have saw Weapons this weekend as opposed to Naked Gun. But yeah, that's good to know because I'm going to check Weapons out. No doubt about that. Was there any team in the NFL preseason that shocked you, that surprised you? Okay. Frantic Ray says Weapons was great. Why was it good? Without giving anything away, tell me, why was it good? What was impressive to me was Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow gave himself a C+ grade. Shador gave himself a C+ also. And I would have given Shador a B, a solid B. But Joe Burrow is that dude. Joe Burrow reminds me, from a mental standpoint, of Tom Brady and Joe Montana. That's what he reminds me of. Never gives himself anything that would suggest that he can't improve. Oh, I was great today. Nah, I was pretty good, but I can work on some things. Joe Burrow is a football savant. I mean, if he had half a team, now you watch that team. I'm looking at Cincinnati. They are not willing to pay their best defensive lineman. Are you kidding me? Have you seen that defense? Crazy. want to give it up one more time for the Valkaries. They've been awesome this year. They really have. And 13 straight sellouts. Lost their best player. Lost their second best big in Mo Billings. She's been out now for, 2-3 weeks? I don't know how they win. I really don't. But I tip my hat to them because they play hard against anybody. They're not intimidated, and they lean on their defense, and their coach is phenomenal. So I'm part of their story. I don't give them much of a chance if they make the playoffs. I really don't. Why? Because I think the other teams are better. But the fact that they position themselves to not only crawl to make the playoffs, right now they're in the playoffs. So I want to big them up, no doubt about that. TJ, I'm not quite sure. Is that for me? Are you talking to the dog? Vicky says, I love watching the Valkaries. What do you like watching most about them, Vicky? Or is it about the things I talked about? I'm going to learn how to, there's one person I'm going to block forever. I'm not a technical person, but I'm going to learn about that this week. You probably like the same things I like, Vicky. They play hard. They're unselfish. They're very team-oriented. And the Pittsburgh Steelers represent their community. One of the biggest stories about the Valkaries this year has nothing to do with making baskets and making free throws. Their connection with their fan base, I've never seen anything like it before. Never. Not in basketball. I've seen it, I've seen it in women's soccer, where a community wraps its arms around a team and they love them. But I've never seen this in women's basketball until this year. The Valkaries are clearly one of the most profitable teams in the W in their first year. They have as many sellouts as anybody. Maybe the Liberty and the Indiana Fever, but they're right up there in terms of sellouts. So A+ across the board. Everybody associated with that team deserves an A, an A+. All right. Okay, y'all, we're going to wind this down. Get Vicky in here one last time. She says, their defense and they play and they are tenacious. Yes, they are. Andrew the GOAT, we'll get you in here. He says, Sabrina Ionescu, awful game today against Minnesota at home. I actually went food shopping, so I didn't see the end. I looked at my phone. I was like, wow, they got hammered. Yeah, so that's why they lost, because she didn't play that well. I love her game. I love how she plays. And this was a bad loss because, Brianna didn't play, and she certainly would have helped. But Fee Collier didn't play either. And, the Liberty have Mieseman. She plays like Sabonis' dad. She plays like a Venus Sabonis. A Mieseman, just old school, knows all the angles, pivots, can shoot off balance, has a three. I love watching her play. She's really good. Andrew says, the Warriors still have not made a move to improve this team. No sign, free agents yet, Warriors. Yeah, it's all about Kuminga, dude. Is NFL going pay-per-view with ESPN's acquisition? It's scary, isn't it? I think he's headed more and more in that direction because that's kind of where the money is. I don't think that the advertising on free television is going to satisfy the owners. So, where's the money going to come from? The money's going to come from international expansion even more. And for the people who already pay, they're going to get more from them because they can. It's crazy because it's so expensive now to be a sports fan. I have Peacock, but I've never signed into it. I guess I need to pick a password. I hate things that are more complicated than they need to be. But you need to have all of these apps. Peacock. Apple TV has baseball, right? I've never watched a baseball game on Apple TV. Have you all? I refuse. I refuse to pay. I actually have Apple TV. I haven't watched that either. But I haven't watched any sports on Apple TV because I don't want to. I don't think I can have that mentality when it comes to football, though. I think I have to watch the games. That's what I'm talking about. So then that's a terrible job by the Warriors for the front office of allowing those JK to hold them. All right, y'all. I'm going to break down. Thank you. I appreciate y'all for checking us out tonight. A lot of kind of talking on the side. I think we're probably done. I look forward to catching up with you guys again next week. The highlight of the show to me is Vicky's back and hopefully doing well and sending out positive vibes and make sure that continues. All right. Thank you. Success in getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. Good night, everybody. Peace. Frank Red.